It's 7 o'clock, so we're going to call this meeting to order. This is the Bellflower meeting of the Bellflower City Council. It's Monday, January 22nd, 2024, 7 o'clock. We're reconvening since we had a meeting upstairs for an outgoing mayor ceremony. So we've already had a pledge and we've already had a prayer. And so we're going to go right into City Council announcements. And so I will start with the city is the process of creating a Parks and Recreation Master Plan to provide a modern vision for the Parks and Recreation system in Bellflower. The plan will provide guidance for future improvements in the development of new parks, recreational facilities, and programs. The next workshop will be held at Wood Spring Suites, located at 9927 Artesia Boulevard in the city of Bellflower, this Wednesday, day after tomorrow, January 24, and that'll be from 6 to 8 p.m. Come on out and learn more about your parks, give your input on the future of the Bellflower Parks and Recreation programs and facilities. For more information, please visit www.bellflowerparksplan.com, or you can call the city at 562-804-1424, and the extension is 2267. Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dutton.
Mr. Mayor, before we go on, we need a roll call.
All right, let's hold the phone there. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Santinas.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton.
Here.
Councilmember Morse. Councilmember Sanchez.
Here.
Mayor Coops.
Here.
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Wendy Morris's absence due to
Second.
her being ill.
All right, so we have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dutton, seconded by Councilmember Victor Sanchez. Without objection, that'll be the order to excuse the absence of Wendy Morse. All right, go forward now with your public comment, or with your presentation.
Oh, thanks, Mayor Coops. The Los Angeles County Fire Department offers a free FEMA-approved 20-hour Community Emergency Response Team training, known as CERT, C-E-R-T, and to all the Los Angeles County residents. Classes are taught by trained emergency personnel, including firefighters and emergency medical service personnel. Through this training, residents can learn about hazards that may impact their area, as well as basic disaster response skills, such as fire safety, light search and rescue, and team organization, and disaster medical operations. The next training courses are scheduled for Saturday, February 10th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., and then also on Saturday, February 17th from 9 to 1 p.m. And it'll be at Pico Rivera, at Pico Park in Pico Rivera. To register or for more information, please visit the website, www.fire.lacounty.gov. That's all I got for you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Dutton. Councilmember Sonny Santinez.
Thank you, Mayor. Bellflower business owners and operators have a special opportunity to participate in 37 Oaks, a commerce development company that helps product entrepreneurs scale and diversify through e-commerce, wholesale, storefronts, and pop-ups. The city continues to partner with 37 Oaks to offer a 10-course certified program that's designed to help support our local product-based merchants. To qualify for this course, your business must be product-based, that is, food, beverages, clothing, beauty, books, art, etc., located in the city of Bellflower. You must have a desire to grow into a brick-and-mortar store in the city and must have a minimum of 6 months of business operations. A new cohort will begin on March 6, 2024. For more information, please visit www.37oaks.com/Bellflower. And additional information for Spanish-speaking business entrepreneurs, we also have a similar program called Emprendedores. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Santinez. Councilmember Victor Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Bellflower. The Bellflower Chamber of Commerce invites businesses, service clubs, and the community to join their next monthly morning mingle, which will take place next Tuesday, January the 30th, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. For more information, please call the Bellflower Chamber of Commerce at 562-867-1744. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Before we go into public comments, I see we have one of our congressmen available. Ooh. And would you like to come forward? And I know you're a busy man. I want to get you on the agenda as soon as we can.
Well, thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much for having me into the council and to our outgoing mayor as well. I want to just first just say how much of a privilege it is to represent the city of Bellflower, and you have an incredible city manager and team and staff at the city that have been just incredibly helpful to our team. So I just want to thank all of you for that. I also wanted just to say two things. I've represented Bellflower now for the last year. And before that, I think you all know I was mayor of Long Beach for 8 years. And so I already knew Bellflower pretty well. And I think we're all part of the broader, larger community. And so to all the Bellflower folks here, hello. Proud to represent all of you. Two things I just wanted to say. The first is I wanted to bring you for the city. We have this recognition, which I'm going to present. We flew this flag over the Capitol.
Wow.
And this flag is flown over the U.S. Capitol, which we want to present to the city of Bellflower, so that you have here, know that this city is so incredible. It's growing. Every time I drive, every time I'm in your downtown, I can't believe all of the changes and the investments. And so I first, for mayor, this is for you and for the council, which I'll present. And the second thing, as you are all aware, last year, the city of Bellflower made a request for $870,000 to help fund security cameras at all of your kind of parks and public spaces across the city. And as you probably heard, we were successful in getting that appropriation through. If all goes according to plan, by the vote of the budget in early March, sometime in the first or second week of March, we will know officially that those $870,000 will go through. And so for the community, that'll ensure that there are security cameras in all of your parks and public spaces, or as you see fit where you want to place all of those security cameras. And so we're excited about that. It's good for public safety. It's good for the community. And wanted to make sure we also present this to all of you. And our office is ready to assist all of you in any way that we can. And what I always tell folks, obviously Washington is sometimes a very crazy place. And it's very unlike being in a city like all of you, which is nonpartisan and you kind of work together. It's a little different in Congress. But the one thing I say to people is, even though we might have different political opinions, we're all Americans. We all love this country deeply. We all believe that we live in the best country on the planet. And we just have different ideas maybe of how to get to the end goal, but we all want the same thing, which is a better life for our families and our friends and strong communities. And so I'm grateful to be with all of you here in Bellflower and Mayor and the council. However you want me to present this,
We're going to do something right over here.
Okay.
To give you,
Great, thank you.
so staff, you could set up our presentation area. Travis, is this on? Thank you for coming.
Absolutely,
And thank you for remembering Bellflower. Of
course.
You come from roots just like we are here, and so you are sensitive to our needs. Absolutely. And you've always been open with us, and your staff has been fantastic on dealing with our issues are, and we're looking forward to hopefully seeing that $870,000 sometime
Very soon.
after March.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, go. So I changed up an order a little bit, but I knew that the congressman had other commitments, and so now we're going to ask Mr. Smoot to introduce public comments.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is the time set aside for the public to address the city council on matters not listed on the agenda. Anyone wishing to address the city council should come to the podium, be recognized by the mayor, and state your name for the record. If you wish to address the city council on an agenda item, you may do so by approaching the podium as we review that particular item. You'll be given 3 minutes to address the city council.
So the mic is open. Please come forward, announce your name, and sign the register, and we'll be listening to you.
Mayor, gentlemen, ladies, gentlemen, my name is John Butts. I'm here on 2 items tonight. I have a neighbor that teaches golf because he's retired and he's bored. The school board is in it. And he basically is trying to do this for something for himself to do. He's bored. He teaches golf over in Whittier, after school it is, and also over in Linwood a little bit. And he can't understand why Bellflower turns him down. And from what I understand, he was told, these are a liability. Somebody can get hurt. Have you ever played wiffle ball as a kid? What are you gonna hurt? Now, it shows how stupid some people's minds are. I would like to see you take a look at it. I'll leave these here for you, and you tell me what's wrong with them. Now, the other thing is, we've got quite a bit of homeless in town still. Nothing's actually being done as far as rounding them up, chasing them out, or doing whatever. And if you're gonna have improvements going on in the city, you're gonna have to clean it up. And as a few of you people know, I've always looked for the city to do things and help them out with certain things. And I've talked to a few people that say, if the city would clean their act up on this homeless thing, we might entertain doing something there. These are businesses. That's pretty bad. So the sheriff's department doesn't seem to be concerned. Nobody's putting a damper on them. I mean, I've got 6 cases in with the sheriff's department, nothing's done. I've tried to help the homeless. I'll apologize for helping them. I made a mistake. They're all a bunch of crooks and goddamn drug addicts. So I don't mind making a mistake and admitting to it on certain things. But you need to clean some of this homeless up. They're running rampant in the neighborhoods, and it's not good.
Thank you, John.
I'm gonna leave these here, and you should take a look at them.
All right, thank you.
On what are they gonna hurt?
My name is Esther. This is regarding the 15-minute city Bellflower Connect. World Economic Forum official admits 15-minute cities will imprison humanity forever and forever lockdowns. Smart growth is funded through federal grants with strings attached that your municipality, county, or state applies for, as we know. Comprehensive plans are written to protect the environment at the expense of your and our personal property rights. 15-minute city, smart cities, the metaverse, smart home, digital ID, CBDC all converge into a form of personalized lockdown where we will either have no desire to travel or we will be coerced and forced to compliance through digital means. Elite globalists claim 15-minute cities are necessary to fight climate change and support global health. Globalists are connecting open-aired lockdowns in which residents will be walled in figuratively and literally. Since the global elite place some of the blame on you and I for the contribution to the weather, via our carbon footprints. The idea is to keep us docile in our tiny living spaces and massive high-rises as we immerse ourselves in the metaverse for work and play, pausing only to go downstairs to the gym, or perhaps opening our portholes to pick up our drone-delivered goods that we never truly own, but only rent. Sustainable policy cannot be enforced without destroying property rights. Hello. There will be no cash machines in these 15-minute cities. Payments are to be made with the swipe of a hand or in by an iris scan. And all the transactions will be done in CBDC, which cannot function without a digital ID. The digital ID is a chip placed inside the right hand or the forehead and will cause a human to become subhuman, or as they say, transhuman. It will be a barcode that you cannot buy or sell with via the Internet of Things, IoT. Everyone's brain will be connected to the iCloud and everyone will be connected to each other. Everything will be connected. A person is not just an experiment, and this is not just an experimentation phase. DARPA has been working on this as shared by Professor Giordano at Georgetown University and is now using at C Founders Space, that company. Whether you are employed or AI made you a part of the useless class, your paycheck or universal basic income, UBI, will arrive in the form of a programmable CBDC that will be sent to your digital wallet, and there will be limitations on where you can spend it and what you can spend
Pastor,
it on.
your time's up. Thank you. Anybody else like to come forward?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Louise Solomon. I'm going to give Bellflower City Council the benefit of the doubt that they're either unaware of what's going on internationally or don't realize the serious scope of what's going on. Ladies and gentlemen, as we speak, China has the social credit score. It prevents people from buying what they would like to buy. It keeps them in their homes if they don't comply. And freedom and liberty as we know it is gone forever. We all know what's happening now in the United States. We know that the World Economic Forum, Davos, our friends, or what I like to say enemies in Davos, and Klaus Schwab, we all are aware, I'm sure you're all very educated people, and you're aware of what's happening in the world today. So, dear Annie, I will finish reading what you weren't allowed to finish in the allotted time. Okay, so whether you are employed or AI has made you part of the useless class, your paycheck or universal basic income will arrive in the form of a programmable CBDC that will be sent to your digital wallet, and there will be limitations on where you can spend it, what you can spend it on, and when, including in the metaverse, where your digital ID will be the driver for a reputation-based social credit system. I'm sure the ladies and gentlemen of the audience here have also heard this term before. But the metaverse is not just a virtual reality space where business, pleasure, and imaginary travel can be conducted from the comfort of your couch. There's also an augmented reality aspect to this ecosystem where AR glasses will have cameras and microphones tuned on at all times, recorded everything you see and hear, including everything in your home. And I just heard $870,000 and more surveillance systems. Okay, so I don't know if constitutional laws have been broken yet, but in my book, I don't like the word surveillance. In order to access the metaverse, a digital ID will be required, and it will store all the data collected from your AR glasses and smart devices in your home and on your person, including Fitbits, thermostats, fridges, mirrors, and just about any other IoT, or what we call Internet of Things, device in your smart home, which can all be accessed and controlled remotely. We've all been watching on YouTube the AI robots that have been dancing and prancing around, so you don't have to take my word for it. And in the future, where public or private entities crack down more heavily on misinformation and hate speech, anything you say will be recorded and can be used against you using the Chinese Communist Party social credit system as the blueprint. These crackdowns will take the form of limited purchasing power, limited mobility, limited
time's up,
luxuries.
ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to give testimony? Yes, sir. What's your name?
First time, my name is Frank Miranda. I'm a resident here at Bellflower.
Have you signed the register there, please?
Okay.
Okay.
Hello. This is my first time attending something like this. I'm coming here regarding concerns. I've been a resident here for about 18 years over at Vance Mobile Home. I have seen a lot of bad encounters happening there regarding a lot of transients and homeless, excessive amount of trash being thrown over there, needles, drug use, prostitution. And the reason I'm here is because I feel it's being neglected, that area. We haven't seen any much changes regarding also sidewalks improvements, road improvements, and it's becoming a big concern. A few days ago, we did have an incident when someone got beat up right in front of our home. It hasn't been the first time, and we want things to get addressed, you know, for the better of our community, for the safety of all of us, basically. Biggest concerns also regarding a lot of trees, very bush. Caltrans are not coming in to trim them. We having people dumping cars. They stay there for days. So we want to see improvements on that area of Bellflower, which is right by the border of North Long Beach, and not just areas where the new In-N-Out is being, where the new In-N-Out was at, and other parts of Bellflower. So yes, that's it.
Thank you. Had Joel talk to him?
Good evening, council members. My name is Don, and I wanted to share an illustration with you, paint you a picture maybe. And it's of how would you boil a frog. You've probably heard the illustration. How would you boil a frog in an open pot without it jumping out? What you do is you raise the heat little by little by little by little until it's finally boiled in the pot. And what I wanted to share with you is everyone in this room is in a wireless pot. You can see some radiation, but the radiation from your cell phone you don't see. The radiation coming out of the wall you don't see. People who carry their cell phone, they tend to get cancer wherever they put it. If you use the cell phone all the time, lots of people have gotten brain cancer from the cell phone, but it's hard to point the finger except that it turns up where the radiation is. And now we've got 5G. And 5G has never had any long-term studies done on it. What are the dangers long-term of the studies? They haven't done anything. Some people will be getting headaches. Primarily, it'll be weakening the immune system. And when your immune system gets weak, some people will get diabetes, some will get cancer, some will get other disabling things. We are adding a 5G in the building, which is going to, I don't think you guys work here all day, but the employees are here all day. They're going to be subjected to that. The closer you are to the tower, the stronger it is on you. And if you could use the illustration, if you've used a microwave, you know what it does inside. It heats the stuff. If you use radiation 5G, if you get close enough to it, it's going to start cooking your cells, making them malfunction. And basically, you're microwaving your body, but it's on the low setting. So how long before it destroys your children, the people in your neighborhood, your plants, birds that happen to be around the cell towers, they usually die. So 5G is bad radiation. They have other forms of radiation they could have used instead of when they did the 5G, but they picked the bad one. And now the city, not talking about any of you individually, but the city's being bribed with grants and subsidies to take on. They come to you guys, and it's free money.
Your
You're going
time's
to
up,
get
sir.
something added to the church. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Hello, my name's Jason. I'm a resident of Bellflower. I reside on Virginia to south of Artesia, and I'm just here to speak about some concerns that are happening on that street, such as constant traffic. For example, people cutting through from Clark or Lakewood Boulevard to get to Artesia. Another example is there's a tow truck yard on Artesia Boulevard, and we have constant tow trucks driving through the residence to get to the tow yard instead of using the access from Artesia Boulevard. Happens daily, morning, day, night, tow trucks, traffic. Second one is speeding on that street, day and night, high speeding. It's a narrow street. My concerns are for kids walking to school, walking back from school at high speeds. Today it happened a lot with the wet roads. Speeds of approximately, I would say, 40 and up, flying down the street to get to wherever they're going. Third concern and last is the bar that is across the street from my house, which is the Bottoms Up Bar. I'm sure you guys are well familiar with that bar. It brings a lot of problems, noise, whether it's during business hours or after hours. It can go into 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, with loud music, people arguing, people talking loud. It's literally 50 feet away from where I live. Speeding is another problem from that bar. People, hauling out of the driveway at a high speed, peeling out. The trash it brings, whether it's in the street, broken glass bottles on the street, broken glass bottles on the sidewalk, where kids are walking, elderly are walking, people are walking their dogs. The parking lot is filled with trash, people eating, throwing the trash on the ground. So it's a headache. Me and some neighbors have gone out multiple times to clean up the trash because it is an eyesore, but it needs to be done, so we go out there and get it done. And that's it. Thank you.
Joel Hockman is here, and that's our safety coordinator. And if you would speak with Joel here, and he'll get your address, and maybe he can put a car in the street there to monitor the speeding and making sure that bar closes at the appropriate time, doesn't have people hang out till 3 in the morning. But have you communicated with this yet? Anyway, go out and he'll help you address that, okay? Anybody else have any comments? You're dismissed, yes.
Hi, my name is Michelle. A couple of things. I'm here to oppose the 15-minute city. I don't know if it's in progress or you've already accepted federal grants from, wherever you get the money from. But with those federal grants, there are always strings attached. And so I urge you to not go ahead with that 15-minute city, as was spoke of earlier. And then the 5G towers, I don't know how many 5G towers you have here, but the same thing with that too, in receiving grants. You will be put on notice and held personally liable for harm that's done to everyone that's working in the building, that lives in the community, that drives by, because you do get microwaved from those 5G towers with the frequency that is being put out right now. And then in regards to the gentleman here with the small business, I don't know who opposed his business license, but I urge you to look into that, because we really need small businesses. This whole globalist agenda is to get rid of the small businesses and put us into 15-minute cities and microwave us and put us, slowly cook us. So thank you.
Have you signed the register, ma'am?
I did.
Great, thank you. Anybody else want to come forward?
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I just wanted to make sure that something is being done in regards to the races, the cars. Basically, I live on Ives and Alondra, and I've been hearing a lot of chases, a lot of cars gathering up and forming their little races and the donuts in the middle of the intersections. And I believe like about 2-3 weeks ago, they burned sofas, and they were on Alondra and Lakewood for several days, just right there on the corner, no cleanup. I don't know what the reason was for, but it's very concerning because they're also doing it in the dog park, that little street. They get together, and it takes sometimes a while for the police or the sheriff department, since they do it pretty late. I'm pretty sure that the jurisdiction falls into Lakewood, but sometimes I think one time I was about to go because I do have some lights in my vehicle. I'm a little bit, crazy, but I just want to know that something is getting done because it's becoming more often. And to me, it's just, it's a lot of irresponsible people, but then the people that we work really hard to buy our homes and maintain our nice gardens and have nice streets, it's really, really concerning that these young kids or whatever think that it's okay to run our streets and to have that nuisance in our cities. So I just want to make sure that you guys are aware that we need to do something about that and make sure that they know that our cities are secure and the sheriff or the police are going to show up in a timely manner, that they won't be doing this.
I appreciate your testimony. You bring that up with Joel. He's right outside there, and we won't miss what you're going to talk about. But
Will do.
All
Thank
right.
you, sir.
The sergeant's out there, too.
The sergeant's there as well from Lakewood, and tell him your address.
Yeah,
and
he's
then
waving to you.
Yeah. Anybody else have anything they want to bring forward? All right, so we're going to move on. Thank you all for coming forward, and I know it takes a lot of nerve. I had a lady here not last meeting. She says, I'm really nervous about being here, but by the end of her promotion, she was in good shape. So I encourage you to always come forward. This is your house. You can certainly tell us what's on your mind. All right, consideration items, Mr. Smoot.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, item 11A, consideration and possible action to issue an encroachment permit to Jacobs Engineering for purposes of soil and groundwater sampling at Carruthers Park on behalf of Kinder Morgan and the development of a licensing agreement with Kinder Morgan for the installation and long-term access to monitoring wells at Carruthers Park.
Who has a presentation on that?
I believe this one is Mr. Gurecki.
All right.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council members. Before you tonight is an item for consideration. If you recall, back in December 2022, outside of city property along the river, along the San Gabriel River, Kinder Morgan had an issue with one of their existing pipelines there that required an emergency response, and several weeks, if not a couple months of work that took place out there on that site. They staged some of their equipment over at Carruthers Park and worked through that area with the city's permission at the time under the emergency order. Following the completion of their emergency work out there, they're working hand in hand with the state of California to vet out long-term monitoring of the soil as well as the groundwater in that area. So Kinder Morgan, working in conjunction with Jacobs Engineering, has submitted a letter of intent to the city requesting two items. The first item is an encroachment permit for them to do some boring of 4 different drilling holes on the Carruthers Park site. This work for them to do the boring is for them to sample the soil and the groundwater in that general area. It'll take approximately 1 week to do. They're looking to start this work sometime around January 30th, pending weather conditions. That's just a normal standard encroachment permit that we would issue, similar to what we issue to other contractors working on city property. The second request is a request to obtain a long-term license agreement with the city for the monitoring wells that they're gonna have to install there at the location as well. Not necessarily on Crothers Park. There is one in the parking lot at Crothers. There is a couple other at the dead end of Beach, as well as the dead end of Palo Verde. And then there's one on the Caltrans side of the facility that they would have to access through Crothers Park. So Kinder Morgan, as part of the second step, is requesting the development of a licensing agreement with the city to cover the long-term operations that will be associated with the monitoring wells that they have to put out there. And again, this is required for them to do by the state of California following the issues that they experienced last year out at that site. So with that, the recommendation is to authorize the city manager or a designee to issue an encroachment permit for Jacobs Engineering for the boring on city property for soil and groundwater. And then secondly, authorize the city manager to negotiate a license agreement with Kinder Morgan in a form approved by the city attorney for the installation and access for ongoing monitoring of ongoing monitoring of 3 monitoring wells on city property and access through city property for 1 well on the Caltrans site. With that, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have, and I believe we have a representative either from Jacobs or Kinder Morgan here in the audience, perhaps.
All
There
right.
we go. Yeah, I knew we
All
had.
right.
I knew I saw him earlier.
Thanks for the report. I have a question for you. Last Monday, I saw drilling rigs on the right-of-way, maybe 100 yards from the corner of Flora Vista and Woodruff. Was that the same organization we're talking about, or was that a different?
That's for the
Or is that for
gateway.
the light
That's for
well?
the new Gateway rail line.
All right, so
Yeah.
that was
Southeast
Yeah,
Gateway.
southeast.
Yeah, we got a new name for it, but that was having to do with the transit, not
Yeah,
with the-
that's Metro and Metro's contractors doing their work along the rail line there.
Okay, appreciate that. Mr. San Ynez, questions of staff? You always bring a lot of light to this.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to clarify or confirm a couple of things, Mr. Gorecki. One is, have they talked to the neighbors, if there's any, or you or someone else, have talked to the neighbors in the area if there's any impact of this monitoring wells, so to speak?
Monitoring, I'll let them speak, but the monitoring wells in nature aren't necessarily impactful. You know, there's the operation of the construction of the well, which will take a few days. What you're left with, once the monitoring wells are installed, is approximately a 1 foot by 1 foot square area with a small 6-inch diameter metal access point. And what Kinder Morgan or their subcontractors would be doing is coming in on a quarterly or a bi-monthly basis, and they take samples from those monitoring wells. So it's as simple as them spending a couple hours there. They open it up, they do the samples go off to the labs, and that's it. So what they're asking for us through the licensing agreement is for them to have the unabetted access during this term that the state's going to impose on them, where the monitoring wells have to be in use and monitored. From what we understand right now, that's a minimum of 5 years that the state's going to impose that requirement. So what the neighbors will see, more than likely than not, on a day when they're taking tests, is a pickup truck and a couple guys out there standing at the well site pulling samples out of the ground. When they're not taking the test, it's simply going to be a 1 foot by 1 foot piece of concrete that's flush with the ground surface. It won't be up anywhere. It's not elevated. It's not on any of the walking paths or anything like that.
But during the installation of the monitoring wells, there won't be so much impact as we had before.
No, this will be
very minimal.
You might want to help me out here in terms of how long it takes to drill the wells and
Because as you recall, we have a lot of complaints during the fixing of the problem we had several months ago.
Last year.
Hi, thank you all, council members, Mayor Pro Tem.
Your name, please. Identify yourself.
My name is Malcolm Thomas. I'm with Jacobs Engineering, here representing Kinder Morgan, and appreciate y'all having me. Now, as far as the impact that we'll be having, nothing like the emergency response. That was a 24/7 operation for a couple of weeks, right? In this case, we'll be out, as the gentleman indicated, for about 3 or 4 days with a drill rig, not a large drill rig, but a compact drill rig. We're going to drill down to 40 feet during the day, so we'll break any noise ordinances. It won't be too noisy. Minimal impact, right, to the folks in the park. We will need to rope off the area where we'll be working, but certainly is non-invasive as possible is the goal. So we have 4 soil borings that we are proposing to advance in the park outfield of the baseball field there, out of the way in the southeast corner of the park. And then we have 1 groundwater monitoring well proposed in the parking lot, the southernmost part of the southeastern parking lot there at the park. And then, of course, 2 wells there at the cul-de-sac of Beach Street and Ranch
Palo Verde.
Palo Verde. And there'll be a quick process. Each well, I'd say, will take maybe a day to put in. We will notify the neighbors that are adjacent on either side of the well installations at those cul-de-sac locations where the residents, you guys have residences in close proximity. So we will provide a courtesy notification for that.
Okay, that's good, that's good.
Right.
Yeah, and my second question is, to both of you is, there's going to be a 10-foot wide service road that will be access road.
Right, exactly.
What's the term of the license agreement?
Right now, as we understand it, they're looking for a minimum of 5 years.
5 years. So
Yes.
during that time, so you'll be responsible for maintaining that service road, service access road.
Per the conditions and terms, we can be responsible for maintaining that.
I don't want to hear you can. You
We
will.
will, yeah.
Oh,
we
there you
will,
go.
Yes.
Okay, much better. Thank you so much.
Victor Sanchez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Out of the four soil borings, I can see that at least 1, if not maybe 2, are kind of within the ball field. Correct me if I'm mistaken.
The
Correct. Yeah, no, you're correct.
So I heard that there would be some kind of a cement structure.
No, for the borings, which is the first phase of their work, they're simply look at it as they're going to drill a 40-foot hole into the ground. They're going to pull the samples that they need out of there. They will backfill the hole, and then grass will be put right back on top.
Right back on it.
Right
So
back on top.
for the licensing agreement for the continued monitoring of the sites, will you still maintain the authority as to when the work can happen? The only reason I ask
Yes.
is Parks and Rec.
Yes.
Right. Want to make sure our youth are able to play.
Yeah, so
Baseball and
just to be
football.
clear, none of those monitoring wells will be going out in the baseball field.
Okay.
So the monitoring wells, one of them will be in the parking lot. And then,
And
the
the
other
one on
2 will
Beach.
be at the cul-de-sacs of Beach and Palo Verde. The 4th one is on the Caltrans property, but the people that have to service it have no access point. So that's part of the licensing agreement, is the requesting access from us to come on to Crothers. And we're going to push all that up against that eastern fence so it does not impact any of the Little League operations that take place there at the ball field.
Perfect. That was my concern. As a former Parks and Rec guy, you got to take care of that aspect. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank
Len.
you.
Thank you, Malcolm.
Mr. Dutton, you have any questions?
Yeah. The boring wells, the 2-inch hole, I think my question was just answered. There's no casing going down.
No
It's just a
casing,
core sample of the earth.
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. And then it's immediate, once it's drilled, the core sample's saved and you backfill it and you're done.
Yep. And we'll restore the surface to the original conditions.
At that point, the 4 sites that you picked to drill how long does it take to get the samples tested?
So usually we request a 7-day turnaround with the lab. So let's say we collect the samples today, right? It's 7 business days, right? The day after you submit the samples to the lab, right? And then at that point, they'll provide us with a lab report. We have chemists that will review the lab data to make sure that everything is valid, right? And the lab effectively did their job the way that they were supposed to do it. At that point, we, Jacobs, Kinder Morgan, will assess the data and analyze it. And as part of our work plan, approved work plan with the Regional Water Quality Control Board, we have a report, right, that's due to them summarizing that information in that report. And that's available to the public on GeoTracker when it's submitted.
So you've chose these sites for a reason, I think, because you're trying to monitor a plume.
Yes.
Down there. So why I asked so if they come back dirty, then it's going to be the engineering firm your firm would develop another plan of more bores to find out how far it's plumed out.
Yes, sir. So the reason why we're in the requesting access to the park currently is because we performed a similar investigation in the Caltrans right-of-way just south of the park. Okay, we submitted a report to the Regional Water Quality Control Board that's on GeoTracker public information. Based on our findings during that investigation, we were led to believe that we needed to expand our investigation.
Gotcha.
Right? So the nature of our investigation and the tools that we're using, we'll be able to assess the likelihood of lateral spreading, right, when we put these holes in the ground as we're proposing now.
Okay. And in the prior to this, to decide, you said you did some testing. So where the future in phase 2, you put the monitoring wells, the 4 wells. So there was testing already done to decide we need to put monitoring wells in those locations?
So the primary, at this point in the investigation, the primary reason for the monitoring wells is to determine the groundwater flow direction.
Okay. Okay.
And so they're outside of where we anticipate, except the well that we're installing there in the Caltrans right-of-way, outside of where we anticipate significant contamination to be present.
Gotcha. So it's better than a guess where we were doing the soil the soil boring, right? That's what we're getting at. I was just curious of why we picked here. We have that. So when we get on the site where we're going to do the 4 boring holes, and I get it, it's a smaller type drilling rig or whatever, the damage to the ball field I don't see anywhere in a license agreement, because it hasn't been done yet, the remediation of the damage to the ball field.
Right.
So that's going to be worked out in the license?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so as part of the encroachment permit, and what Frank does a really good job documenting this stuff, these before and after.
Right.
So to be honest, if they tried to put that rig out there in a couple days, given the rain that we've had the last 3 days, it's going to rut the heck out of the out of the ball field.
They're scheduled next week.
Right.
Well, but the letter of intent was sent before we knew that we were going to have 3 days of rain. So we have to wait until the conditions
I'm just
are
bringing it up
conducive.
now, because we're here to try to give staff direction of what to look for in the license agreement.
Absolutely.
That's our job, is to give staff direction, and we understand that's what we're doing here. On the monitoring wells, the 4 of them, it's a 4-inch hole. Is there a casing in that one?
So the wells will be cased per California well standards and LA County well standards as well. They'll be cased, and then where the water is at, approximately 33 feet below ground surface, 33 feet.
Yeah, it's not very far in that area.
Exactly. We'll put the casing for the well,
right
which
to
will
touch
be
the water back.
Exactly, 10 feet.
Is there a probe that goes down it and measures what the direction of the water is, what it is?
Right. So once we install those 3 wells, which are located quite a ways from each other, right? Once the wells,
4 of them.
all 4. One's in the Caltrans right away, right?
Yeah.
once they're installed, we'll be able to measure the water levels in each well. And then we'll be able to determine
Gotcha.
the elevations from there and
Gotcha.
do it, yeah.
The data that comes from that, does it a physical person come out there and is it wireless? You have to be within proximity to that well to get the data to read from it, or is it from satellite?
Right. So what will happen during a monitoring well of groundwater monitoring event is a technician will come out with a submersible pump, okay, small unit, send that down the well attached with tubing, okay. They'll pump the water out of the well, right, with that pump.
No.
They'll collect that water at the
Okay, so
surface and
sample.
then submit it. Right, and that's how we get our samples.
Oh, that's okay. So that's a sample. It's a manually. You got to go. I thought it was an electronic
I wish.
device or a probe down. I think it said word probe down at the bottom. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So that's at a well site, and that's why you have to come out. Is that done on is there a timeline? Is it a monthly basis?
So often, the regional board will request a quarterly monitoring event. I just submitted a monitoring report today to the board, and it's every quarter.
So it's every quarter. Okay, got it. So I just trying to see frequency there.
Yeah.
The access road is from our Crothers Park parking lot where it terminates, comes in, and then you're going to cut a hole in the fence and put some kind of a gate there so you can reach through to get to the Caltrans site.
Right. So the most optimal situation would be to put in a gate, right?
Right. No,
of similar
we saw it in
makeup,
the
right?
staff report. Yeah.
Exactly.
Got
Wide
it.
enough for a vehicle to go through.
Do you already have an encroachment permit from Caltrans?
We do. We have soil borings that we installed there. Got an encroachment permit for that. They wanted us to get a separate encroachment permit for the well that we are
Kind of like
trying
what
to
we're
access.
doing. Yeah. Kind of like what we're doing here tonight.
Exactly.
Okay, good. Just making sure. So.
Right.
Right. So it's quarterly. So what I'm looking at is I'm thinking the monitoring wells on the city property, the access road or whatever. It's technically you have a license to use it. I'm thinking in the license agreement there's got to be some compensation for that. So I'd like to see staff work on compensation for that, along with any damage to things. And the gate's not a problem. It's going to be locked unless knuckleheads start breaking the lock off, because that happens.
Yeah, it does.
Casing.
And then also, we have done a similar investigation and are working over there in City Cerritos at the Ironwood Golf Course, right? So we have specialized mats that the drillers will lay down to protect the turf, right? The same thing we're using over there. We'll use the same thing there at the park to protect the grass there.
You're talking about now.
Well, whenever we do get out, right?
Well, okay, when you get, because
right.
it was a free for all when the repairs were going on.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Because there were no protection going on for last year. Okay. All right, Malcolm. Thank you. That's all my comments, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So the public can certainly comment, have any questions on what we're doing in the park. Does anybody like to come forward and give any testimony? Now's your time.
Esther, I know that water's important and that there are a lot of contaminants. So I appreciate doing this. I don't know what kind of water testing you're using. I assume you have a good water tester for this. We have a lot of contaminants. I guess I could give a whole talk on contamination of water, but
We're
at
not- we're
any
not-
rate,
we're not
this is
doing it.
important. This is important that
It is,
they
and
are
it-
checking this.
And our
And
staff
I
takes,
do want to leave my speech from earlier for you.
here, give it to the city clerk. But we do, are very meticulous on this testing of the water, to make sure that people are maintaining their health.
I just wanted to ask one question. So we do have contamination from the 16-inch pipe that leaked back in 2022. I haven't heard that pipe was the cause of the contamination, or actually what it is they're trying to clean up. And is this the start of probably some sort of a remediation process just the beginning of it. So that's my question.
All right, Len, do you want to answer that?
I would have no answer for that at this time. That's
All
probably
right.
something.
How
that-
Call Malcolm
How
back
about
up?
Malcolm?
Yeah.
I appreciate the gentleman's question. At this stage, we're trying to assess for the feasibility or need to provide any type of remediation. So right now, we're in the assessment phase. That's generally how these environmental investigations go. You have a issue, then you assess the issue with soil borings, groundwater monitoring wells. You collect that data, you submit it to a state-certified analytical laboratory, and then you get that information, and then you compare that to various regulatory limits. That's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to figure out where we need to go with this investigation.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
So the leak's been fixed about 11 and a half months probably. And we don't know if there's contamination, is what you're saying. You don't really know. We're still evaluating it. What have we been doing for 11 and a half months?
So the leak was repaired about a year ago. I know.
Yeah,
you
11 and a
know,
half months
yeah,
ago.
About
yeah.
Christmas time.
I live on that street.
Okay. So we provided and conducted an initial environmental investigation, and that summary report is available on GeoTracker to the public. Now, we did find petroleum hydrocarbons on the water table.
Okay.
Okay. And right now, we are trying to assess the lateral extent of those petroleum hydrocarbon impacts.
Of the plume.
Exactly. Not only that, but we're trying to assess the nature of how much is there and its ability to be recovered. And that's partly one part of what we're
Sir,
trying to
please
determine.
address the mayor when responding.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah. But that's partly what we're trying to determine.
So does your firm, do you know how many barrels leaked out of that pipe? Because that's how they know it was leaking, because there's some missing.
Right. That's I believe that's still an estimation. I know they're
Yeah, it's an
always
estimation.
refining
Do we
that
have an
approximation.
estimation of what leaked? How many gallons leaked or
Barrels?
barrels
yeah,
leaked?
Well,
Yeah.
I believe in that investigative report. I believe it was around 17 barrels. That's what was recovered thus far, based on mass removal and actual product recovery at the time of the release. But we're still trying to ascertain exactly what's still
Okay,
in the
why
subsurface.
I was asking is because we didn't get that answer early on.
Right, right.
And now I'm taking another bite at the apple.
Right.
A year later.
I've got a question for you. Will you be doing the same series of tests on the Cerritos side of the channel?
Yes. So in our work plan to the Water Board, we had work proposed for the City of Cerritos as well as the City of Bellflower. The investigations mirror each other. We're able to do more there on the City of Bellflower side because the majority of the investigative locations there in Cerritos fall within the Army Corps' jurisdiction. As y'all know, the proximity of the investigation to the San Gabriel River has caused quite a bit of a logjam when it comes to property access from the Army Corps.
All right.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. From what I recollect, it was a year ago, that the leak was leaking on Bellflower side. It was coming through the caisson that goes under the riverbed, and that's where they actually pulled the pipe, and it was just raw fuel. It's coming in the dirt there. Is that correct? I mean, that's the recollection that I have. I could be wrong.
Right. Well, they pushed the casing from the City of Bellflower side, pushed it out,
and did the
pulled
welding
it.
on that side and pull it back in.
Exactly. So that's and as far as where
They don't know where the leak
where it
was
spilled out
because they
at.
hauled it away in trucks to find out, to send it to a lab. before it
Right.
happened.
So we were able to get essentially immediately adjacent to that the repaired terminal end of the casing there at the city of Bellflower side, right? We haven't been able to get to that terminal end of the casing in the city of Cerrito side because of the property access restrictions with the Army Corps. So right now, I can't definitively tell you
Gotcha.
whether or not there's
So we don't
petroleum
know.
hydrocarbons there. Yeah.
All right, thanks, Malcolm. We'll see if another question comes forward from the public.
Absolutely.
Any other questions on this subject? Have seen none. Up to our decision. Do we want to approve well testing in long-term and short-term?
I think staff ought to figure out what the cost is and prepare licensing and bring it. I think this whole thing needs to come back to us. Yeah.
Excuse me. On the Honorable Mayor and council members, on the short term, we're looking to issue the encroachment permit for them to do the boring locations. We have an estimated cost for that. It's based on our fee schedule for when we have to monitor and inspect boring and monitoring wells here in the city. And then it's also the rental fee facility for the ball field use, because they're gonna have exclusive use for 4 or 5 days or however long it takes them. So that pencils out to a little over $5,700.
Right. And that's over the counter kind of stuff.
Yes,
Right.
yeah,
So
we
don't
issue
have to
that
make a
right out of the
decision.
Public Works
Yeah.
Department. Separate from that, there, as noted, we need to draft and negotiate a long-term licensing agreement. So in that agreement, outside of spelling everything else about what we just talked about for monitoring wells, access, the development of the road, the gates, the restoration, the term limit, with all of that taken into account, we have to develop an appropriate fee that's associated and tied to this licensing agreement. So that is something that I will work on with the city manager and the city attorney, and it's something that we would work through with Kinder Morgan. Once we're comfortable where we have something that we think is of value of bringing back to the city council for you guys to vote on, then it would come back to you to vote and issue the final approval of that licensing agreement.
And I think I'd like to add something, and tell me if I ask my colleagues if I'm getting outside the sandbox here. But from going through this whole ordeal with Kinder Morgan from a year ago, the questions I asked here tonight, still not clear. We still don't know where it was leaking. We don't know really how much leaked. I think something's being, I've asked the question a lot of times. It's not clear to me. Either it's being hidden from us, or it's not clear, it's not explained right. I don't know, but I'd feel that way. So in the license agreement, maybe we ought to ask those questions.
Can that be included in the negotiations that you're going to be holding?
Yeah,
There's some
absolutely.
transparency in what has occurred?
Mr. Mayor, if I might.
Yes.
Having dealt with a similar situation in the city of Lomita, very similar situation actually, we negotiated a license agreement whereby we were able to ask for some assistance in having a third party in addition to the water board. Because keep in mind, all of this is overseen by the Regional Water Quality Control Board. They provide the monitoring schedule, they provide the locations for the wells, and they approve all of that on an ongoing basis. But we were able to ask for some assistance from the city's perspective to give our residents some comfort that we had our own eyes on this, to say, this is actually being
But yeah, because this is leaking in an area that the water table is 32 feet down. That's not very far.
It's also in a city park, so of course our residents want to have
at,
all the information that they can when we have things going on there.
So your recommendation is maybe the city of Bellflower hires an outside engineering firm for checks and balances, and Kinder Morgan pays for it?
You certainly could do that if that's something you were interested in.
All right.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Isn't it correct to assume that if during their sampling process they discover that there's leakage and there's some damage, they're still responsible for that? They need to clean it up. Regardless of our license agreement, regardless of our monitoring, they're still responsible. Because the water board's going to be one of the agencies that's going to go after them, and we can still go after them.
That's correct. The water board is the oversight agency that would oversee this over the long term.
Do we need as brought forward by Councilmember Dutton, do you think we need a third aspect to this recommendation, or can you include that in item number 2? That we require a little history on how we got to this place?
No, I think we can, following direction from council this evening, we can make sure that we incorporate that into the licensing agreement.
Yeah, because tonight, all we want to over the counter get a permit so they can do their sample borings.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then direction from council to.
Yeah, that's one. That's phase 1.
Yeah, but there's 2.
Yeah.
Correct.
The other one's
that comes with the licensing
Right.
agreement. We're not even close to a licensing agreement yet.
Right.
Yeah, correct, Mr. Mayor. This is before you this evening because we wanted to get this expedited and moving, and because obviously you have activities going on at the park that we wanted to avoid conflicts with, hence the encroachment permit. But the phase 2, the licensing agreement, normally we would bring you a licensing agreement, but we wanted to get some direction from you on that side of this for this evening.
Okay.
Mr. City Attorney, should these 2 items be melded together, or should they be voted on independently?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, technically, Mr. Gorecki could issue the encroachment permit on his own authority. This was brought forward to the city council so that you could have this discussion, give direction to staff. I think there's plenty of direction to staff, and absent an objection to the city council, an explicit direction not to issue the encroachment permit, Mr. Gorecki can proceed. We also have marching orders with regard to the license agreement, and I think the applicant's representative have heard what our marching orders are, so it should come as no surprise to him or his client when Mr. Smoot or myself require third-party analysis of the situation before even bringing this to the city council for consideration, and also for some hard bargaining with regard to what the license terms and conditions state.
So we've now, based on what you've telling me, we have concluded the discussion. We need not vote on it.
There's no need to vote on it unless you want to re-emphasize the direction already provided.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just basically authorizing the city manager to negotiate.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
And Len always had the jurisdiction to issue the permit.
Right.
All right, so staff's got that under control. Consideration of item 11B, like boy, Mr. Smoot.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is consideration and possible action to consider extending Dynasty Alliance Grow Incorporated's cannabis business permits to continue operating cultivation and distribution facilities at 8832 Ramona Street through December 31st, 2024.
And that'll be presented by Travis.
Yes, I'll give a brief overview of the staff report. Thank you. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. At the annual CBP renewal meeting, which was held on December 14th, 2023, there were some questions that arose from the City Council regarding Dynasty Alliance Grow Inc.'s security plan. And Dynasty has since submitted an amended security plan that includes additional security features that have been added to the facility. And then on January 16th, 2024, staff conducted an inspection of the facility and reviewed the additional security features along with the existing security plan to ensure compliance with the permittee security requirements. So upon reviewing the information provided and conducting the inspection, staff believe those conditions of the permit are satisfied. So the recommendation tonight is to consider extending Dynasty Alliance Grow Inc. CBPs for cultivation and distribution uses at 8832 Ramona Street through December 31st, 2024. And the permittee is here to answer any questions that the City Council may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dutton, have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I'll just make it known that you and myself toured the facility last week and found all the new magnetic locks and high visibility cameras and everything were up to par. And staff got their security plan ironed out, and we have that, and there will be, from here out, 24-hour guard on the premises. And so all my concerns are fixed. And with that, and I think Bernice did an excellent job in the couple of weeks she had to put something together. And to have 8 or 9 of us out there, pawn through the facility and looking at it, and for you know, my eyes on it, and I had a lot of concerns last time, and I think everything's fine now.
Okay. Mr. Sanchez, do you have any questions?
No, Mr. Mayor, I'm okay, thank you.
How about you, Mr. Sonny Inez?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of points of clarification. Maybe this is for staff. So the one of the main issues from the last meeting was the lack of the continuous on-site security 24/7. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so now it is in the written plan,
Yes, correct.
and you are pleased with the way it was written, the way it was described in the plan?
Yes.
Okay. And so my follow-up question on that is, do we have a mechanism in place currently to kind of confirm on a kind of a test-based, surprise basis to make sure that this is happening?
We could certainly work with our code enforcement to confirm that on a regular basis if that's something you'd like to see us do.
Okay. Because the reason I'm kind of bringing it up is now this for Bernice. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you're the most heavily invested in the city of Belf in terms of cannabis permit.
Correct.
When I say heavily invested, I was kind of surprised that there was a question at the last meeting whether you're going to get the permit renewed or not, and I kind of felt very sorry for that if that were to happen, because in my assessment, you have the most to lose of any permittees. Again, I could be wrong, because
you're correct, sir.
because your facility was basically designed to be a growing facility.
Correct.
You cannot use it for something else.
No.
Other compared to, let's say, Catalyst, it can go back to a repair shop, for example, if they have to lose their permit. I'm really appreciative.
I'll
of
probably
what-
make it part of the shelter too.
It does have a.
It has a couple of rooms
Well,
there.
except if you're bringing it up, except that case is now back in the Supreme Court, so it can be overturned. Okay,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
I'm just saying it can be overturned. So anyway, so I'm appreciative of what you have done, because again, I just want to reiterate that you have the most to lose, and I'm really glad that you kept up your goal in terms of securing the facility, and the staff is very pleased for what you have done, and I think we're ready to extend your permit.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes. As you know, I toured the facility, your facility,
Correct.
and I found it to be better than ever. And I appreciate the conscientiousness of you trying to bring it up to speed even better. And you invested a lot of money, time, and effort, and it shows. And I appreciate your honesty on trying to deal with it in a way that's we're both winners in this deal. And I think for the long term, you'll be able to operate more safely, not have a great loss again. And we feel good about that if you feel good about that.
Yes, sir.
And so we're going to work tonight and see if we can get your permit extended. And God bless, you'll go for another year, and then we'll talk again.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you.
Have you anything you wanted to ask or tell us? Or give you-
No, it's
Okay.
just like I said, there's in the plans in the future to even make it better. So, like you guys are aware that it's more beneficial to me as well and my employees to make sure that they're safe and that I feel safe as a woman. I do have that on not on my side that much. If I'm coming in and out at 1 o'clock in the morning from that facility is pretty dangerous. So it works to my benefit the most. So I do understand that for sure.
Although I did
Thank
once
you.
hear that you were a championship kickboxer. So.
No, jiu-jitsu.
But I know, yeah, excuse me, the wrong. I think you could defend yourself.
Yes. Thank you so much. Any more questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Any discussion? We've already had it, huh?
We had it.
Ready for a motion?
Well, I'd like to make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to extend the Dynasty Alliance Grows Inc.'s CVP's permit for cultivation and distribution uses at 883 to Ramone Street through December 31, 2024.
Any support?
Second.
All right. So we have a motion by Councilmember Sonny Sanyanez, supported by Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dutton. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Santinas,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton,
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Aye.
Mayor Coops.
Aye. All right, you're all set. Consent calendar, number 12. Does anyone have any conflicts or any consent calendar items? And if there's anything you want to pull, let it be known at this time.
Nada.
I have a conflict myself. I thought I'd let somebody else go first. I have a property in near Sims Park, so I cannot participate in 12E, and I'll leave the room accordingly. I think that's the appropriate thing to do.
Not if it's
Mr. Mayor,
discussed.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, unless it's removed from the consent calendar, your announcement of it, that is sufficient, and you simply won't be counted as part of the quorum or voting for that particular item.
Okay. So is anything need to be pulled by any other members of the council?
Move the calendar.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Ray Dutton, supported by Council Member Sonny Santinez. Please poll the council.
Councilmember Santinas?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Dutton?
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Aye.
Mayor Coops?
Aye. Council comments. Let's start with Sonny. He had a big evening this evening, getting all kinds of accolades as
Yeah.
to being past mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. We had a wonderful evening tonight. It was the outgoing mayor ceremony, and again, I want to appreciate my colleagues for the accolades that you have extended to me. And most importantly, I want to thank our staff for all the work that they do day in and day out, especially today for bringing together that group of people and all this arrangement they did. It was a wonderful event. So again, thank you so much.
Mr. Sanchez, do you have anything to offer?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just again, congratulations to immediate past Mayor Sonny Santinez on his year. And then what an exciting day it's been in Bellflower, right? We started off the morning with Metro at the main event center, which was a great event. All four of us were in attendance, and I know our council colleague Wendy Morris would have been there if she was not ill. You know, Southeast Gateway Line, it's an exciting new name, right? So we'll see what happens there, and hopefully the funding will come to make that line a reality in the near future, or in the future. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Mr. Dutton.
Sonny knows how to throw a party on an outgoing mayorship, doesn't he? Standing room only. You got quite a following, and it goes hand in hand with how much you like the job, and you excel at it, like we've all said. But thank you for your service last year, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to echo the same thoughts. All through the year, we knew how hard you worked as mayor, and it was reflected this evening when all the other cities came in to congratulate you and honor you, and all the service clubs. I don't think anybody missed. And you're well respected, and it's good to have you as the mayor. And I don't think you would object to being mayor for the rest of your life. You had such a good job. But nevertheless, I'll do my best to try to live up to your expectations, because you really did a fine job. And interesting morning this morning, and at 9 o'clock, as four of us were at the Marion Event Center, and we were invited by the supervisor, Janice Hahn, and you saw here we had our Congressman Garcia there, and we had other cities. Artesia was there, Cerritos was there, Norwalk was there, Downey was there, their council people, all trying to rename what used to be called the Santa Ana West Branch.
Yeah.
And West Santa, because it doesn't go to Santa Ana anymore. And it'll come from LA and it'll terminate in Artesia on Pioneer Boulevard. So they presented a new name and it was accepted. And then we need to hear where's the money going to come from. And there's a lot of money in the pot, but we need a whole lot more. And so that's why we had a congressman there to make some promises to see if he can live up to it. Originally, the goal was to have this thing up and running by the Olympics in 2028. Don't think that may happen, but nevertheless, there has been some movement, as indicated earlier by Public Works Director Gorecki. There's making some soil samples along the right-of-way, and that's how you begin a project like this. And so we're encouraged by the fact that in the not-too-distant future, we may have a light rail line going through Bellflower and going to our city of LA. I reflected on the story. In 1956, was kind of the end of the light rail. And my mother was cognizant of history in Bellflower, and we grew up on Main Street there. And so she put, I was 5 years old, my brother was 3, and he was in the stroller, and I walked down the platform down there, and we rode the red car to Los Angeles, and I'll never forget it. I mean, it was hustle and bustle, and so I can say I rode the red car. Now, I told him this morning, my goal is to be able to ride the light rail, you know. I may be 100 years old, but but we all have to have goals, right? I'm going to adjourn this meeting in memory of Bradley Binder. Bradley Binder was born January 30, 2003, and passed away on January 1st, 2024, at the young age of 20. He is the beloved son of Bellflower Public Works employee Brad Binder. Bradley was a kind, soft-spoken, silly, inquisitive, and adventurous young man. He curiously led him to adventures many people don't get to do in their life. He lived life to the fullest, climbing mountains, fighting fires, falling in love, and truly experiencing the beauty of our world. Bradley was a friend to all, and his passing created a massive void in those who knew him, whether as a friend, as a cousin, a boyfriend, a nephew, a grandson, a brother, or a son. Our deepest sympathies and heartfelt condolences go out to the entire Binder family. So again, another passing of someone very young, and we just want to acknowledge that since Mr. Binder is an employee of the city of Bellflower. So at this time, we're going to adjourn the meeting. It is about 8:20 in the evening to the next regular meeting of Bellflower City Council, 5:30 p.m., Monday, February 12, 2024. We're adjourned.